Okay. So talking a little bit about our situations and what we're designing for. So about 3 years ago, in the fall of 2020, I got a call from my dear friend, Dr. Nancy Feltig. We had grown up together, and she was currently an oncologist in a institution, a hospital in the greater Boston area. And she called me. That was not unusual, but she called me and she was really, really upset. Now, this is a woman who deals with young people and terminal cancer. So she's not easily shaken. She's not easily upset. But this day she was livid. And she's telling me why she's so upset. Now, I don't know if you guys remember what was going on in the fall of 2020, but we had a massive influx of patients and crowded hospitals because of COVID and COVID-related symptoms. Well, what had happened at the time was that so many patients were at the hospital, some patients were put in the hallways. This was just a matter that they had to do, given so many people. Well, unfortunately, one of Dr. Nancy's patients, a young woman, was put in the hallway, and given her poor and weakened state in cancer treatments, she went into cardiac arrest with COVID symptoms and responses in her breathing. Now, luckily, she was in a hospital, so everybody wanted to respond. Immediately, the call went out. We have a situation here. Come quickly. The team, the emergency response team, got ready, got pulled together. We're ready to focus on that patient. But what happened and why they didn't get there on time, unfortunately, was a miscommunication. With so many hallways and so many different floors, the wrong location had been communicated to the team. And this is what had really upset Nancy that day. Dr. Nancy Felton. She had lost her patient not because of care, not because of fastness in response, but because of poor communication. All right. We can do better, she told me. And I believed her. So we're dealing with a lot of really intense situations, and we really need to help make sure that these doctors, these emergency response teams, can really focus on the work they need to do and take the communication and trying to figure out how to get to the right person out of their hands so they can do their work. Okay. So after talking to Nancy, this really hit me hard, and I wanted to see if we could do something better. Now, as Providence would have it, I was actually invited to come and join the MobileHeartbeat design team and lead their new product. All right, and this was really exciting. So I joined on, having just kind of dealt with Nancy, and was like, let's do something. So I was really excited to get on board with MobileHeartbeat too, because they are absolutely enabling the current health system to communicate and collaborate more efficiently. All right, we work on our mobile products to do that, and to be very patient-centric with our designs and our products. And I was brought on to really kind of steer the new design of our newest product, Banyan. All right, so this was my chance to actually do better for Dr. Nancy and her patients, and really for all of us. So I knew this was going to be a really tough sell. All right, we're dealing with clinical communications. It has to be perfect. So the first step that I did was really ensure that product was on board and product owners were involved from the very beginning. Okay, so together, all right, when I started, we got together and took a look at all the different use cases. What were the different clients talking about? And we noticed that this emergency response workflow and the updates needed to the current product were requested across multiple clients. So I also got to share Nancy's story and the situation that we had found ourselves in. And other product and stakeholders, they shared their stories as well. So we built this combined and collaborative vision of, what did we really want to fix very, very early. All right, got it talking and got it formed. We got a goal. All right, and our goal here with my push code blue button, all right, was how can we improve on this really simple design that was built around a very physical location. All right, it had a very simple UI. We can't improve on a single, button to press and get a response. But things have been changing. Hospitals are moving with lots of influx. So how could we improve on this? All right. How can we keep it simple and improve it with this new, smarter technology? How can we turn this into a more advanced, flexible, and smart easy button? Okay. At this point, our approach was with that clear goal in mind and the full team buy-in on it, with alignment with the business. Our approach was pure user-centered at this point. All right, and we really started early, getting ourselves on site. All right, figuring out what was happening with our end users in their environment. So we got to, and luckily partnering with HCA, MobileHeartbeat, got ourselves on site in clinical situations and environments. All right, now I would say this was soft to touch contextual inquiry. While we were shadowing, we were in live emergency situations, but we got to ask our questions in a good time, as well as really sit back and watch and shadow clinicians on the floor. Okay, all right. We participated in new hire orientations, got all the same training that a lot of the new nurses and new doctors get and other teams. We also got to go and see, different environments. We found ourselves in hospitals in large metropolises, large cities, right? But we also spent time at the small clinics out in rural areas as well, trying to see what was common across them. So, after spending time in all these different environments and seeing these different stories, there were two real big consistencies that I wanted to bring up. Emergencies happened everywhere, okay? Not just in patient's room. Emergencies would be in large collaboration spaces. They could be in the hallways. They were at the Starbucks at the entryway, all right? They happened everywhere. And even though these emergencies were consistently anywhere, we didn't always have the infrastructure to get that emergency call out, but everybody had mobile phones on hand. Okay, so we were like, hey, we can do something with this. So next, we really kind of moved into that design phase where we really got to play. And we took a look at some of these communication best-in-class patterns. What are the big apps doing it? How are they handling it? And we built our, early prototypes based on those. All right. But we really had to take into mind, what was the vocabulary? How can we improve it for our clinical workflows as well? But we grounded ourselves in really current patterns first. Okay. And then if I was really helping and sharing our research with our team, always bringing that back so we could build that buy-in, share our learnings with the full team, with our product managers, even with engineering. So it wasn't just the design team going off. We would do our research, bring it back. And that's a big theme. Do your work, but always bring it back to the team. All right. But once we had a really good prototype together, a really good start at it, then we moved into one of my favorite phases, the validation phase, where we really get to test it. All right. So to start with the testing, again, because we're dealing with applications that will be used in emergency situations, there's building up the trust. So first, we did a lot of testing in-house with our own MobileHeartbeat clinicians and subject matter experts, people who are the best in their fields, really know the hospital experience that work for us now. And that gave us a lot of good feedback, how we can improve these best-in-class patterns. Okay, but modify things a little bit, move some steps, or even expose more data to make better and faster decisions, especially when you're in a rush. Okay, and this really helped us get out a lot of our low-hanging fruit, designs that weren't going to work fast enough, that didn't take, into account that you need to make decisions quickly. All right, so that really helped us at our first, as well as building in-house buy-in on our designs. Okay. Next, we got into our second round, really testing with client subject matter experts. Okay, so even going back to the clients now, not always letting us, it's very hard to get with end users, but not ready for us to test with end users, but very close to the end users, the administrators, the client stakeholders, people who used to be administrative nurses and now lead tech departments and ensuring that the local technology at the hospitals is best for the clinicians and for the nurses and doctors. So this really helped us fine-tune our designs now and ensure that we were capturing not all of the use cases that we had thought of, but a lot of edge cases we hadn't thought of. All right, so at this point, our prototype's getting a little tighter. We've got even better vocabulary, and we've really streamlined that navigation to be able to handle a responsive in emergency situations. And all this time, building that buy-in with our own leadership, our own development teams, our own product owners, and then we started building it with the clients. They were excited about this. They saw something that worked. And that was really the key to our third round, finally getting to test this with end users. Okay, we started with end users and we get back to end users in our validation. And at this point, we have a very advanced prototype. Lots of use cases in it, lots of clickability. It looks and acts very real. We've also been working with engineering along the way where they've got a proof of concept, a POC, built. It's not all the bells and whistles in our prototype. It's a really good base and it works. Okay, so with this very advanced clickable prototype, as well as our proof of concept application, we're able to go back and test in clinical settings, again, not emergency ones. Nobody's using a prototype during an emergency situation, but getting it in their hands and seeing them actually work with the application. All right, at this point, we really got to fine tune our UI, really keeping in mind where the thumb use is, what data needs to be brought up and highlighted in actual decision-making scenarios. So, and all of this sounds like a lot, but this project really only lasted about 3 months. So at that point, we had a very stable North Star design, a beginning of development on it, buy-in in-house, client support, and ultimately validation with end users. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys a little view into the actual product that we came up with, and this is called the Banyan Reach. So this is kind of where we started off with just some good patterns. How are we going to improve that emergency button on the wall? Well, hey, we'll put it into the mobile, we'll give them these buttons again, and we'll give them a couple of options, more than just one. Okay, and that's what we started with. But we learned early on that wasn't enough. There wasn't enough context, and it wasn't matching the very specific world of clinical workers that is very fluid. They can move from different departments, they can move to different facilities, they can change roles. It really depends on who they are that day, what hat they're playing on. So just having those buttons wasn't enough. We needed to provide more of that context, right? More of that fluidity to follow the user as they go through their different roles and different facilities in the day. Okay. So then we moved on to our second kind of concept, a little smarter this time, more context. really telling the user, not only just giving them some panic buttons or some emergency response buttons, but telling them the other information and letting them know it's them, it's their stuff, so that they can respond with the bigger application. Hey, this is great. Not only can I send out an emergency notification, but I can be getting some as well. Okay. Providing that flexibility of following along. Okay, these are the emergency response codes when I'm at the Maxwell Hospital, but when I'm at a different hospital, there'll be something else. And we can design a widget that can follow that user along in real time. Location. Then finally getting down to one of the more final. We've got a lot of designers here. We know how final is final. But this is one of the last versions we had before final branding. And this was really well received by our users and actually got into the hand of our clinicians on the floors, our end users. And this was really happy. This is exactly what they were kind of looking for at the time. Something in their hand, something that knew where they were going, knew where they were. Not sending the code blue to the wrong department because they're in the wrong facility, and really letting them know, hey, this is them. This is they're logged in, because there's a lot of shared devices among these resources. But bringing it all together so that they have that very smart emergency response button right in their hand. Okay, so I was really pretty proud of this. A bit of that upgrade on the big red wall button that utilizes smart technology to get the right code to the right people for the fastest response. Okay. So it's a little along the journey. Okay, kind of showing you guys the approach that we did, showing you the designs that we came up with, and a little bit about what I would want to share, after 3 months. If you're thinking about really producing an interface that's going to be used in very intense emergency situations. All right, And I know this design's everywhere, but in situations like that, you are going to get a lot of pushback at every step. Everyone's going to question your design decisions. So do the testing. Bring them along on the journey. Don't go on it alone. Show why you're making these decisions. Anytime you go out and talk to users, bring that back to your team. Include engineering. Let them know the why behind the design decisions. Okay. Another one is, it's great to rely on those best-in-class expectations and common design UI patterns. And that's a great beginning. You can utilize a lot of it. But it is not going to work in the clinical setting. These people know how to make phone calls. They know how to use directories, but their needs need to be more supportive. They don't have as much time to think. So go ahead and begin with some common design patterns, but get out there and validate with real people. Then, automation is definitely the future. All right, being able to do these tasks for our users, do the heavy lifting of the thinking. They didn't want to know, hey, what hospital I'm in, the app should know it. Take that out of their hands. All right. These people are very focused on their patients, on saving lives, of responding to, again, intense situations. All right. They do not have time to fiddle around and do thinking on their mobile apps. There's not 15 minutes, figure out your own life insurance. This is, I got 5 minutes to find, where's there a surgeon on call right now. So anything you can do to make, searching, finding, bringing things to their light is really what's going to support them. because they ultimately have to stay focused on that patient. So to kind of bring this around full story, I definitely got to test with Dr. Nancy. She was a test subject throughout this project. And one of the reasons why I'm feeling very secure about our product right now and the designs and what we're building and releasing is because when I got it to her at our final stage, just hearing that, hey, in that situation I talked to you about last year, this application, this emergency reach widget, this would have saved a life. We really could have used it. So thank you guys very much for listening to my talk today about designing for emergencies. Any questions that I can address?
Great, thank you very much, Greta. That was really interesting to hear kind of more tangible outcomes instead of social sharing or those kind of things. I have a couple of questions, but if anybody has some questions, please do post them on whichever platform you're watching this on. We're monitoring all the platforms, so please do post in the questions you have. Two things in particular jumped into my mind around this product. And the first is testing, because something like location tracking and making sure that if it literally is life and death, how did you make sure that there were no bugs? Because all software has bugs. So how did you validate to make sure that there was going to be no problems?
No. I mean, that was a huge, beyond just the UX department, technical feat. And luckily, coming to MobileHeartbeat, they already had a history in that, and being able to send broadcast notifications in a real-time fashion. So, adding traction to that, tracking to that location was really the next step for MobileHeartbeat. So it was a large effort partnering with other technologies to do that. So I'm not the best person to answer for that, but to say that was a large undertaking for us. But part of what we want to do and provide in MobileHeartbeat.
Brilliant. No, it's good. It's always nice to know that there's somebody looking after that at least. The second one, and I guess it's with a big red button, it's there. It's always going to be there, but phones have batteries and batteries can die. So what was your kind of, I'm sure this was something that came up. So what was your approach for kind of what happens if somebody's phone is dead?
And that can always happen. But to say, hey, sometimes someone's phone isn't going to work, we shouldn't build the widget at all. That wasn't something that we kind of considered. We still have these buttons on the wall. You can still get to it. You're still in, clinical settings that, more than one person is nearby. There's still a lot of shouting at times, but, just because one person's phone is down didn't mean there isn't somebody within shouting distance whose phone could be working or is closer to the button. So that's kind of what came up in those situations. But to be honest, there are less of those my battery is out situations. We are exceedingly attached to our phones nowadays to let it go down that far. So it didn't, it wasn't a stopping point for us, but I hope that's answered your question.
Just me personally, my phone is over 2 years old now, and I think I need a new one because the battery just is fading very quickly.
No, I mean, they also, in these settings, they have a lot of shared devices. So, you pick it up when you come on shift, you drop it off when you're after shift. So they go back into the charging stations. So with the bring your own device users, we got to rely on them. But for the shared devices that were really, used by the heavy workers on shift, those were pretty charged because they had to be returned and picked up from a charging station.
Great. And I guess it's one of those ones where it's very hard to get real data, I'm assuming, on the outcomes that have been achieved. It's more anecdotal, I'm assuming. Or
Yeah.
do you have real data?
Well, this product is still in development. So that's where we're excited to be releasing it soon this year or early next year. So we only have kind of the responses from our clients right now that have been testing with it. So they really like it, and we're excited to get it out into the market. And we have a great loyalty to our brand already. This is providing clinical workers getting to the right, the right specialist quickly, being able to get a nurse in the room quickly and providing all their directories. So they're very happy with it right now.
Brilliant. Well, I think that pretty much brings us up to time. So thank you once again for sharing it. It's a wonderful story about kind of, I guess it's when people talk about the mission and the purpose of what they're working on, it's a good one when it's literally life and death and saving lives.
All right. Test. That's what I'll always say. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in with us today. We genuinely hope that this video sparked some fresh insights and ignited inspiration for changing the ways that you work. But as with all things product development related, there is no one size fits all. So please do share your thoughts in the comment section below, and let's keep the conversation going. Finally, if this video resonated with you, please do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. This not only keeps you up to date with all of our latest content, but it also helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Last, if you want to keep learning, we have a couple of videos suggested here. But otherwise, until next time, take care and enjoy the rest of your day.